Hi, and welcome back to CLOSEUP. It's amazing to welcome the Canada Creators Collective, also known as CCC, to CLOSEUP. For those that don't know, founded in 2018, CCC promotes the emergence and development of Canadian creatives and fosters meaningful collaborations and connections. CCC recently produced its first major initiative entitled Fiction, an intriguing, immersive visual experience recently launched in Montreal. It features new and exclusive works by 8 Canadian creatives, both established and upcoming. The show explores shape, materiality, and function, blurring the lines between design and art. Let's take a look at Fiction. Wow, that was visually stunning. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. To unpack it all, I'm honored to introduce the director of the CCC, Laurent Guillenas. Hi, how are you? Welcome to CLOSEUP.
Hi, Stacey. Thank you for introducing me.
Thanks for being here. We are also joined by 3 of the participants represented in the CCC exhibition, 2 of which are also CCC board members. We have Rory Seidel, who is also brand director at Lambert and Fees. Hi, Rory.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? We have Zebulon Perron, who is founder of his founder of Atelier Zebulon Perron.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? And last but certainly not least, we have Pascal Duradin, who is founder of her namesake firm. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks.
Good to see you. And also joining me on stage is Wanted Design Charlene Lamb, who will be helping me with some Q&A from the audience at the end. So first things first, congrats on Fiction. It's amazing. What an incredible achievement to everyone that made it happen. Laurent, maybe we could start with you. You are a designer and you're also now the director of the CCC. Help us understand the story behind the collective, the context for Fiction, and the people behind this huge effort.
Yeah, so it's a lot of questions at the same time.
We can start at the beginning, yeah.
So I started working for the CCC about a year ago. The CCC was first built, like you said, in 2019. At first, we were going to Milan with the show Fiction, and then the COVID, of course, and we were forced to do something different, and we decided to go virtual and do a show online with amazing people here, a very small team here in Montreal. So the show was broadcast from Montreal and still curated by Nicolas, who worked very closely with us on this show. He did an incredible job also to focus on the pieces and everything. And then we had the direction, the camera and post-production made by Pierre-Alexandre, and also we had the director of photography, Alex Lesage, and the music by Philippe Brault. Also, we worked very closely with the Principal, who did the website and all the web experience around the Fiction.
Very cool. And what was it like to have to turn this digitally? I mean, obviously everyone had to adapt this past year, but what was it like for you as a designer, as a creator, to have to think more digitally?
Well, it was hard at first because we really had something in mind that was supposed to be live, meeting people. We were really good at organizing events. So that was really a first time for us building this exhibition online. And it was really, really hard here, especially in Montreal, because we had the curfew. Finding a space to film was really hard. We were not allowed to be more than 5 people at the same time in the space. So all these difficulties made this show absolutely incredible to build, because it was really hard at the same time. And I think we made something that looked fantastic for this very, very short amount of time that we had also to build this show.
Right, and all the challenges that went with it, might not even known. Thank you so much. So, Rory, Pascal, and Zebulon, I would like to let viewers get to know you and your work a little bit better. And I think we have images to loop while you all talk. So, Rory, maybe we can start with you. You cross so many disciplines with such creativity. Can you give us a snapshot of what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So Lamberitis was founded about 10 years ago out of Montreal. We're an award-winning contemporary lighting design studio at heart. We really focus on making like original poetic collections. We also collaborate with a lot of designers around the world for different lines and collections. At the end of the day, though, we really just like to make beautiful objects and also make really nice experiences. Like, I think that's a big part of the brand itself, is also the activations, the experiences. We just launched a showroom in New York City, in Tribeca as well. So for us, it's, the brand is really like an outlet for our creativity. For Fictions itself, Sam Lambert, our founder and creative director, wanted to actually try sculpture. And so the piece that you see here is Paravent. And so basically it's made up of 3,000 different pieces of aluminum. And the idea was, even though we're getting away from lighting, like our first time getting away from lighting, the idea was to make a sort of site-specific installation that the viewer would really like interact with. And it does still play with light. And so you can kind of see from the grid-like proportions, depending on where you are in the room and the way that you interact with it, you get a completely different experience. And it's sort of almost like this hypnotic pulls you in, and it also sort of cuts your point of view and creates a sort of trompe-l'oeil effect, as they say in French. So yeah, I think we're all about like having fun and making beautiful things and getting it out there and sharing it with the world. And whether that's lighting objects or you might have seen our activation in Milan a few years ago called Café Populaire. And I think to an extent, fictions and everything we're trying to do with the CCC, also as board members, is representative of that as well. So really picking up where we've left off with past events and experiences, we wanted to do something incredible with fictions. And I think we did a pretty great job of doing what the mission of the CCC is, which is to really bring like Canadian design, independent design, and artists into the world and into the world that Lambert Fils has been so fortunate to get to play with as well. So that was kind of the goal, and I think we did a decent job. Of course, COVID is not the most fun time to try and do these events, but we tried to also do something where instead of doing something 3D or virtual, we went with filming and having 4 different points of view that the user could actually click on through the website to be able to have a different perspective on the pieces. So I hope we did a decent job of documenting, all the artists' different pieces within the show as well.
That's very cool. And when did your showroom open in New York?
It opened in December this year, and so far it's been great. Again, doing like a lot of virtual tours. But we are open for design days during ICFF during this week and Wanted. And we'll also be doing a bigger opening in the fall as part of Wanted and Design Week as well.
Great. Awesome. Well, congrats. All right. So Pascal, we are fans of your artistry and your ceramics. They're beautiful. Can you share a little bit about your work and your experience and contribution to the show?
I'm a ceramic artist. I've been working for over 20 years in the craft, and I started out like a lot of ceramicists with functional tableware, and slowly developed some work that was more integrated into architecture. I always had a vision that I wanted to work in luxury establishments, working with those kind of clients, because often they're art collectors. They understand also the amount of work that goes into making craft, and especially ceramics. It's a very long process. So it took me a little while, and I've been working mostly now doing artwork that's integrated to architecture and sculpture. So I stopped doing tableware a few years back, and and I focus mostly on that. So some of the work that you're seeing here are different installations that I've done recently. The Four Seasons Hotel in Montreal, which actually Zébulon's atelier worked also on that project, not this particular project here, but on one of the projects.
Lovely. Yeah, I remember we published that in Hospitality Design.
That's right.
Your work is so beautiful and just adds such dimension to the room. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Zebulon, we've also seen your work in hospitality and beyond. Can you give us an overview and what you contributed to the project?
Makes sense, yeah. So my name is Zebulon Perron. So we founded this iteration of the atelier about 13 years ago. We've been working, so we have a niche in hospitality, interior design. So, as Pascal mentioned, we worked on the food and beverage component of the new Four Seasons Hotel in Montreal, which opened about a year ago or 2 years ago. But we do all sorts of sizes of projects, smaller projects like the one that you see here, which is like a smaller pizza, family-owned pizza place. And then for fictions, this was a nice experience for us because, it offers us a space for experimentation. So it's a clientless space where we can do, where we can try out some ideas that we have about, form and ergonomics and, different expressive ways of doing working on objects. So for us, it's you know, a rare opportunity to work purely within the studio, you know, because we're very kind of doing a lot of contextual work in our practice, a lot of custom design stuff, but for projects. So it was really a very kind of it's a great experience for us to be able to work with other creatives in this context and kind of elaborate, you know, a piece for a collective show.
Amazing. Well, thank you all. The collective is such a powerful idea. Laurent, as a designer, you know, what does that mean, building community and a presence for Canadian designers? Can you talk a little more about the why and what it means?
Yeah, well, so at first I need to talk about the experience that I had in the past, because I worked with Lambert & Fils and I learned so much by working on different projects and doing several tasks like social media, media, fairs. And then I always knew, like, well, Samuel and Zebulon were talking about this, the idea of like building this community of designers and building strong connections between Vancouver, Toronto, all the other big cities here in Canada, and building this conversation between them. And so I heard about this project like a long time ago. They had this idea, and I started a show like 3 years ago, and then it's now part of the CCC. And so the CCC is all about building connections between designers and building shows and working on several different missions to go to make Canadian design something and to be well known outside also from Canada. So working on nationally, like more locally, and also on the international stage with all the Canadian designers, actually. So this community is very, very important because we need to build something strong to help also like smaller studios. It needs to go outside and be known outside.
Yeah, no, for sure. And how did the idea of fictions come about? What was that, you know, the backstory? I don't know if there, you know, if it was part of the board, as board members, if you came up with it, just tell us the backstory.
Yeah, so I guess I can jump into this.
Sure.
So originally the idea was, you know, I'd visited Milan with Samuel Lambert back, this was like 5 years ago, I would think. And Lambert & Fils was doing its first show in Milan, and they were showing their collection within the, you know, the Fiori, and so I had time, and I was in the city, and we kind of looked at the, you know, and we thought that, you know, a lot of the stuff that was showing in the city center was really fantastic. And Sam and I were like, we need to come back, like we need to show, you know, we need to, you know. For us, it was like, you know, it's kind of going to the Olympics, you know, and so we, you know, conceived of this idea of coming back originally just as our two companies putting on a show, and then, you know, it slowly evolved into, you know, well, actually, like, where are the Canadian designers? Like, where, you know, where's the presence for this? And we, you know, this idea slowly evolved into creating a collective. More people got involved, you know, and then it just took on a life of its own. We were very lucky to have Laurence on board, you know, who had experience already, you know, putting on different events and shows. And then Rory, you know, from Lambert & Fils, who you know, and just the whole Lambert & Fils infrastructure, who, you know, we have to say, like, for the design community in Montreal, Lambert & Fils has, like, opened up a lot of opportunity. Because they have been very kind of, you know, forward about kind of designing and opening up markets and being having a presence internationally. You know, like all of the media apparatus and, you know, and the experience that they had doing their own kind of journey was very, very beneficial to all of us at the CCC because, you know, they had already kind of had this experience. So, you know, we got tremendous media coverage for Fictions, which was the first show put on by the CCC. You know, and we were lucky also to have Nicolas Bellavance, Lecomte, joining us, you know, as a, you know, a well-known curator, Canadian-born, but based in Milan. Yep. So the show originally was supposed to be a show in Milan, but of course, you know, and actually when the pandemic hit Milan, I actually personally traveled to New York to go and see some spaces because we were going to move the show to New York. And just the next day, when I came back from Montreal, they closed the borders. So we had to adjust to that situation, you know, and so, you know, we assembled a team, and Laurence and Sam Lambert got very, very involved in putting on this show in the, you know, in very minutiae, and we were engaged in this you know, quest for space, as Laurence described. So there's you know, an interesting adventure to be able to navigate these, you know, these very unusual circumstances. But that's, you know, that's what made it original too, I guess.
That's great. And Pascal and Rory, if you want to comment too, what did it mean to come together for something like this for you both?
Well, for me, it was, I loved, well, there was a lot of trust. That's one thing that I really appreciated about the CCC is that they, when I was invited to make something for this event, yeah, there was a lot of trust is the word that comes to my mind. And it's rare that you work in collaboration where there is a mandate, there's something to be made and created, and there's not, you know, huge guidelines. I mean, there was one guideline to make something tall, which was really, really fun and a great opportunity for me to experiment and explore much bigger pieces than I had in the past. And now I'm hooked. I'm doing more of those. So that's really good. But yeah, I just really thought that was an amazing, and I'm very grateful that I was able to do this first edition.
Very cool. Rory, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun experience in the sense that, like, there was a bunch of different participants and players all over the world, and trying to put it all together, and then also switching gears with COVID and the you know, virtual versus physical. And so we kind of started joking because the name is Fictions, and every month it would be pushed forward, or we had a location and then wouldn't work out because of COVID, and so eventually we started to joke that, like, it sort of didn't exist, and so there was an element to the branding and the creative direction that was kind of smoke and mirrors, and so at a certain point we sort of embraced that, and that's when it sort of took shape as a virtual exhibition, and I think everyone pulled together their forces to make something really incredible together, and I think that, you know, virtual events are difficult, but at the same time, this was such a cool one, and I think it really did justice to the show, even if it wasn't, you know, physical. And I think people got to bring their strengths. Like Sam has a background in film, and then Alex and PA, who worked on the art direction for the film itself, are pretty well-known sort of cinematographers and photographers, and so they brought their elements, which were quite incredible as well. So I think, you know, we had such a multidisciplinary team, including the design participants, that it really made for something special.
Were there any kind of lessons learned or big takeaways or a surprise about the experience for you all?
Well, I think I come from an art and craft background, so one thing that was a really great surprise for me is to see an event where there's a coming together of many fields, such as design, industrial design, lighting, craft, art, visual art. And I think that's what creates really rich experiences. And this is my first experience or opportunity to show work within that context. So I think it's more than multimedia. I think it's just multi-thinking and just a completely different way of perceiving creativity. And I think that the name Canadian Creators is just perfect for that.
Yeah, and I love how you are now experimenting with some larger pieces because of it.
Yeah, that too.
Zebulon, anything you took away from this experience?
I mean, for us, it was like, the mission of the CCC is to promote Canadian design internationally, to promote, to make opportunity for younger designers or less well-known designers, given, support them in their work and kind of give them a platform. So what was really great is that we have assets now. Like, this was a first iteration, an imperfect one in many ways, but we were very kind of happy with the result in many other respects, and it forced, I think, like in many creative situations, constraint will, ultimately become something that will bring, the creative kind of factor, forth. And so I think in that sense, we're very, we all had a very rich experience kind of working on this project with each other and kind of, putting this together. But this is a first, this is a first show for the CCC. The CCC is a nascent organization. We really are looking forward to bringing more people into the fold and creating this community and this platform for Canadian designers. We do strongly feel that we have the talent to be able to compete on the world stage, yep, or to be present on the world stage. It's just that we don't, we didn't feel we had the support structures and kind of the path, to do this. And so this is this initiative, and so we're, as you can see, we're all very enthusiastic about it. I think that this first kind of impulse has been a very positive one.
Right, and so will it be set up like a membership? Is it something to kind of grow and expand and do more? I mean, what's next? What do you have in the works?
We have different projects in mind right now. Working virtually was really was a very great experience. So I don't think we would do just virtual or just physical events, but we're planning on both. So we're working on a smaller event locally, and also here in Canada, we're probably going to go to Toronto and Vancouver with this same kind of exhibition. It's called Studio.
Oh, cool.
And then we'll have another project going on probably in a year and a half from now. Something similar to fiction, but probably more physical event. And so we were thinking about probably going back to Milan if ever it's possible, but I'm pretty sure it's going to open very soon, and we're going to be able to bring Canadian designers out there and do another great show. A little bit like what we had in mind at first, but fiction was definitely one of the best experiences that we had, even though it was from Montreal here. It was really nice to work on something very different from what we're used to.
Right. That's great. And it'd be amazing to actually, do you think it'd be the next version of it, or do you think you'd actually try to bring fiction to life?
So, so we're thinking about both.
Yeah.
So I think we should have something else going on about fiction, because we created so much great visuals from this exhibition. So we want to work on something probably like a paper or something about this show. We want to do probably like a second thing about this show, another video or something, but definitely we need to have another something else coming out of this show, because it was so great and amazing to work on. And also, if we ever have the possibility to show this show as a live event, we would do it for sure, like a physical event.
Love it. And so with CLOSEUP, I mean, or with the CCC, and you have the stage of CLOSEUP. I mean, is there what else about Canadian design do you want to get out there, like through that, like through these exhibitions, through community? Is there, a thread, a theme, or is it just showing the talent that, exists in Canada?
Rory, you want to go ahead?
I mean, I think there's, particularly in Montreal right now, there's something really, really strong happening. And I think a lot of it is a lot of these connections have been natural and organic, and like friends helping friends. And so I think we want to keep that spirit. That said, there's lots of stuff happening across the country as well. But there's definitely, with fictions and with the CCC, there's like a moment in time that's being captured and put out into the world, which we're really, really proud to be part and like to be a platform for that. And Montreal and Canada in general has less of a platform than, say, the States or Milan or Italy. And so I think, our goal is really to help bring that platform and help designers like ourselves who are at different stages just celebrate and travel the world together and make cool stuff and put it out. I think it comes from a pretty organic, lovely place. So I think we just want to keep that going.
Yeah. And you were saying earlier, we are about to embark on a membership drive for the CCC. We are trying to include, the genesis has happened in Montreal, or it was born in Montreal, but we're really looking to reach out, from coast to coast in Canada to include people from other cities and other, localities across the country. The goal is to, be a motor for, creatives here in Canada.
Love it.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Pascal.
I was gonna add that Montreal, for Canadians, Montreal's always been seen as a very strong focal creative point, or it's a city of creatives. So I think it's natural that it's starting. Its inception is in Montreal, and it's sort of a phenomenon that's radiating outside of Montreal to reach out to our other Canadians who often say, "Oh, you guys, Montreal, you're so creative." So just thought I'd put that in there.
No, but we've reached out, like we're having active conversations with people, in Vancouver and Toronto, and so really the goal is to create a inclusive but quality focused, organization, and we do want to make sure that we include up and coming designers, students, and just kind of have this impetus and this energy to put forth, because we do really feel that we have something to present to the world.
Well, I think it's been interesting. The conversations that we've been having here is about collaboration and community, and building that, and what special things happen, right, when people get together and do creative things. So I think the CCC is giving it new meaning, right, in Canada. So I think that's amazing. I'm going to turn it over to Charlene. I think we have a couple questions from the audience for our last few minutes.
Yes, indeed, we do. And just to say that we're so happy to have the CCC taking part in CLOSEUP and having this kind of strong representation, and we look forward to seeing more representation across all of our shows from different parts of Canada, as you spoke about. And Rory mentioned kind of the nebulous nature of fictions as it was coming together, right? Whether it was real or not. Someone had the question of the fiction's installation exhibition has this very mysterious feel to it. Was that intentional? Anyone can take that.
Rory, I thought this was yours.
Yeah, I mean, we took a lot of time to think about the experience and also just working with what tools we had, and so we started thinking about what was a way that we could give people the feeling of being in the same room with these objects, and like the discussion kind of just turned to security cameras and the theme of fictions itself, and so we kind of went in that direction, not because we wanted it to be creepy or mysterious, but more so just because these were the means that we had to display this. I don't know if I'm revealing too much, like behind the curtain, but we looked for a location for quite a long time, and we're all in sort of one building here in Montreal that used to be this sort of iconic like rave space. It was also the Moment Factory building for a while. Anyways, there's this basement, and after searching for a long time for the perfect location in Milan and looking at like pavilions and in New York, we settled on the basement of the building that we're all in because that's what was available to us. So I think the location also had a big impact on the feeling and the vibe, and wanted to do something kind of immersive and interactive, and so the multi-camera security thing, and it took a life of its own at a certain point. There was also some writing that was done at the very beginning of the whole process.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yeah, that's there's
Daniel Conti. Daniel Conti's text had that very strange ambience, and he had a very nice way of describing each pieces. And for some reason, he was describing in a sense that was making feeling like some sort of fiction happening in Montreal. And I think we focused on that when we started this show virtually. And so the show was also about like the connection between the outside world and the inside world, like having this weird atmosphere going on with the curfew, the empty streets, and we also took a lot of the shots outside during the curfew, so empty streets, and then you go inside and see this weird space in a basement. You have no idea where it is. I think all of these things make this show what it is and how bizarre it is, but it's at the same time very pretty, I would say.
No, but it's like you're mentioning, Rory. It's a profoundly circumstantial show in many ways, because we're dealing with, of course, sanitary circumstances, but also spatial circumstances and timelines and blah blah blah. And so, it comes together as what it is because these were we're cooking from the pantry, if you will. So we're and so it's it's an interesting thing when you have these ingredients, how they put together and how they kind of provoke something. But the writings, so we had a writer write some text for the exhibit, and they really drove a lot of the kind of the ambience and so it's very beautifully written by Daniel Conti. So that's kind of also one of the motors of, one of the inspirational parts of the show that made it what it was.
I think I also...
Go ahead, Pascal.
I also think that, just all the different pieces, right, that were in the show, most of them, they look like sculptures, or else they may look like something functional, but there's something like dysfunctional about it. And there's something also in, putting them all together. It's like these singular pieces with singular visions, and something is... it's a mind bend to try to understand how they all fit together. And, from fiction as the virtual exhibit shows, and also, like you're saying, the text from Daniel Cancy, he's an incredible writer, by the way, Montreal writer, but I'm a huge fan. And I think that he was able to weave this text and create a course, not only a visual course, but an imaginary course into what these things might be. So this idea of potentiality. And so I think that was something that really struck me when I saw everything come together.
I think we love that you were calling from all these different disciplines. It's very clear that a lot of things came together, working with the circumstances, physical and digital, that you had, and to make this amazing piece come together.
Yes, so thank you for sharing it with us today, and thank you for being here on Close Up. Truly enjoyed our conversation and meeting you all. If anyone watching wants to find out more about the CCC, you can go to cccollective.org, and there's more there. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Now we're going to turn it over to Claire and Odile in the green room.